Hey, fellow astronomers, just another update on the Byers mount progress. It is alive. So basically, the latest addition is some homing and limit switches. I did finish up my right ascension bracket, so this was the original bracket that mounted on. Same worm gear was in here, but this obviously had bushing shoved in there that I changed to bearings. I put bearings in here, but I just thought they were too small. So I just remachined this aluminum mount. It's so much more solid, it's unbelievable. I also just put a set screw in here that's got a ball from a ball bearing on the end of it into the end of the shaft that had a little hole in it, so that ball fits in nicely there and it centers. So there's literally absolutely no slop on this thing, or I can take all the slop out. I also put in two large bolts on the bottom and then just tapped into the base plate here, rather than before it was actually mounted with a couple smaller screws just through the top, which was fine, but obviously you can't do any adjustments once you get your Los Mande plate and obviously telescope and everything on here. If you want to adjust the worm, you couldn't do it. I may still put another plate down here with a couple Allen screws that I could actually fine-tune adjust this worm gear if I need it. Right now I've just kind of set it where I kind of think it feels about right, but overall this thing is really really working nice. I didn't go with a belt drive here. I used the same gears, so this was actually off the DC motor. I had to machine that out a little bit, but I'm using the same gear and reduction wheel or gear ratio here that was from the original DC drives. It's a 20 to 76 tooth gear. And then, yeah, so as far as the limit switches go, these are essentially just non-contact. I thought about just using regular contact switches, but I really wanted to go non-contact. So these are just, I think they're like 16 bucks for 5 or something off of Amazon. I really quite like these. There's a couple of different kinds you can get. If you notice this kind, the connector comes off the side. The other ones, I'm not sure if I got them here. Oh, here's one. That they have on Amazon, the connector comes off on the top, and I like the ones that come on the side. They just obviously work better because you're not bringing the wires back right up. So what I did was basically just 3D printed a little bracket here. This bracket, actually I might be moving this to the opposite side just to keep all the cables on one side. I haven't debated on that yet, but I literally just printed a nice 3D bracket that mounts flush against there, and just epoxied the two switches into there. So that works really well. And then how it works is there's just for the homing, again I just 3D printed a ring. So the ring, half of the ring has a groove, the other half has no groove. So when you talk to go home, obviously if it's on the no home side, it knows which side to rotate to, and it rotates until it hits the groove, and vice versa. The second one here is just a limit. Again, I can move this ring wherever I want it. I just have it set here for testing, but there'll be a groove set for the 2 max limits. That's just a hard stop, so if it hits those, that cuts out any of the tracking and everything. So that's a feature of OnStep that I hadn't used before, but really seems to work very nicely. In fact, if I jump into my home controller here and just say go home, and yes, so we can see this guy is just gonna basically rotate, and he was on the part of the ring, so he's gonna rotate till he gets off of it and then slowly rotate back. So that's pretty good. Sounds like I still got a little bit of vibration. Might have to do just a tiny bit adjustment to that yet. But that's that. On the right ascension side, basically got a 100 tooth gear to a 20 tooth reduction. This is a 359 tooth gear. I would have thought it would have been 360, but I counted it like 3 times. I got 360 once, but then 359 3 times, and so I had my kids count it. They got 359, so it's 359. Front plate, obviously I have for hand controller, power on and off. I'm running 12 volts, and then just my USB input for it. So that's it. It is functional. It is alive. It took me a bit longer than I thought, but with all the 3D printing in here, basically we just have a NEMA 23 motor. There's my PEC correction disc in the back. Basically, that was just a 3D printed disc that I had with a slot in it. So exact same sensors. When it comes around, it trips that. I didn't break off. I took the LEDs off all the other switches. I will take it off of that one, but I left it on for now just so that I can see that PEC is actually working and checking that. As far as the case, I just 3D printed some nice little angle brackets for the front and back. One thing I would change on this design that I didn't really like, the front has the homing and the PEC correction and whatnot, but the limit switch is actually off of the little headphone connector that was supposed to be in the back. So I cut that, cut one of the traces on one of the encoders and just ran a jumper there, so everything comes out of here. My limit switch would have came out the other side, but that's kind of nice now, so it's all at the front. So again, this is just because I'm using this hand controller for now, but that'll fit in there. And like I say, that plate, I printed that at the same angle so that then the focus plate will just drop right on there, and everything will be completely enclosed in one unit. So good stuff. Clear skies, guys.